Yeah, I'm unmuted now. Yeah. All right. Testing stuff, seeing it's all right. Yeah, everything's working. Cool. I've not streamed for a while, so I'm surprised everything's not super scuffed. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. I'm literally now just. Can I like? Do I want music in the background? Nah, not really. I'll do it without music, and then later on, or if I decide to make a YouTube video for this, I'll add music in. But yeah. So today I'm going to be learning Salvage Union, which is a game that's kind of snuck up on me. I had no idea this game was in Kickstarter. I had no idea anything about this game until a random tweet just came my way, and I saw it was a mecha game, so I thought, hey, I'll check it out. It kind of looks like Lancer, and I'm sticking to it. To me, Salvage Union is cozy Lancer. That's the pitch I'm going with at the moment. This is cozy Lancer. This is no like constant warfare, constant battling Lancer. This is just nice, chill, salvaging. But oh my god, there's a Titan over there. Let's run the fuck away. Yes. That. So yeah, literally my plan today is to go through, not so much go through the book. I will be going through the book, but not trying to stick with things. The book is a very, very easy read. I highly recommend if you just want like a new system to learn, or if you are working on a TTRPG of your own and you want to learn how to set out your pages. I highly recommend using this as a template. There are some things this book misses out. I've noticed, like, it doesn't really go into detail with like certain things like how you gain training points, but you can leave it to assumption or be flexible with some of the rulings in this game. So things like ranges, you can be flexible with. Things with like how much you can do in downtime, you can be flexible with. So there's a lot of flexibility for the DM or the mediator to work through. And then it's basically a lot of just communicating with your players about the tone of the game, the situations you're going into, and kind of negotiating the trade deal of events that happen when your players roll in the game. It's very much a nice, chill mech. I keep calling it Cozy Lancer, and I'm probably going to just keep running it like that until it stops being that and becomes super stressful in situations. Because, like, looking at the game, you can get your mech destroyed very easily. You can die quite easily. It is not exactly like the safest game. I feel like there's no skill gaining with it, so all of the D20 rolls are flat. And that's basically what I've read of it so far. So we're going to just go through the book. I'll go into some detail of character creation and mech creation. I'm not sure if I'll actually go through Union Crawler creation. Union Crawler being the larger hub network mech that all of the pilots and players will basically be living on and doing all of their downtime actions on. Because that is kind of something you would do when all of the players create their characters. But yeah, the game plan today is literally we're just going to go through the book, not like constantly like reading page by page in detail, but more of just like skimming through stuff and just explaining things in detail, going for character creation, going for mech creation. I'll probably cover I'll probably cover Union Crawler creation in like some small detail, but outside of that, I'll do that. I'll cover how I'm going to be running it through Foundry and how I'm planning my maps and stuff like that, and how I'm probably going to be working around a session to pitch to my usual players first, and then open it out for people who see this game and want to play this game, and basically say, "Hey, I run this on my Discord. If that's interesting you someone, and I run this as like a few week, like one of my side sessions kind of deal." But yeah, that's it. So we're gonna go through the book now, and we're gonna see how it is. Again, one thing I really like is this. This is the best. This literally sold me on Salvage Union because I got every idea of what I wanted from the game from literally these 2 pages. Like literally, I was reading through these pages, and then I had a rough grasp of basically just everything in the game. Like the core mechanic of roll dialing is all just a flat system. So it is all just a flat d20. You don't add or subtract anything. If anything, you have the chance to re-roll using keepsakes, mottos, and backgrounds for your pilot, and also pushing things for your mech. But outside of that, it is all just a flat d20. And it's around 75% chance of success, but the 25% of that is basically success with consequence, which is a mechanic I'm happy with and like. Because it means things progress, even if things don't happen as well as the players wanted to. Things just do happen. There's no getting stuck behind because you're constantly re-rolling to try and pass a check. It's all the players roll, depending on how they roll. You describe and negotiate the scene with your players. Even if it's something bad, your players can negotiate what happens to them. And one of the features that's in this game is that the players get to choose what consequences can happen to them. Well, the DM or mediator can suggest stuff to them, but in the end, the final players have to say of what's going to happen. And then the scene plays out. You have your rough little map here that I'm really happy with. Like I've made 2 rough maps depending on the map sizes and stuff, but you can be very either super detailed with the map size and how each little sector of it works, or you can be super vague and use it as just like a radar grid that's blipping around on the mech. So distances are never set in stone. It's always up to interpretation. Mech damage is always the same as well. Once your mech reaches 0, it goes into critical. It does the same thing that Lancer can do with overheating, but it is a lot more safer with heat usage, which I'll go into detail when we get to mechs. The main point of the game is going to area on a regional and location map to collect salvage. There may be certain dangers in that area, but you would basically your players would try to negotiate a way around it without using combat and use combat as a last resort. Unless your players are very combat heavy and wanting to fight, in which case they can go to every area and pick a fight with everything they see and deal with the consequences of that as they go. So it's going to be around. Again, it's very much around how your players build their characters and how your players coordinate with one another. Is how smoothly things are going to go. And you collect your salvage, and that salvage is put into tiers between 1 to 6. And you will spend that salvage to upgrade, build new mechs, train your pilot, trade it for better salvage, so you can trade 2 tier 1 salvage for a tier 2 salvage, or 4 tier 1 salvage for a tier 4. And basically that's how you trade and cost stuff, or you could just trade a tier 6 salvage for 6 tier 1. And certain weapons and certain equipment is specific to tiers. So you need to trade around and do the math with your salvage of what you're wanting to trade away and what you're wanting to use and keep for yourself. And that also goes towards basically rebuilding your home and building areas in your home and upgrading your home. And then also upgrading your pilots as well. So you can individually train your pilots, and that's how you increase your abilities. You can get one training point every week of downtime for your players. So basically your players can just sit in the cockpit and train and learn certain skills, and that's what they're doing for the week. There's the safety protocol, which we're basically just setting boundaries for the game, and the stop sign, which is a handy system of saying, hey, this person's not comfortable with this, we can go into detail so we can progress smoothly. And yep, and then you've just got your move and your details and stuff. And then here, it goes into detail of how you create your pilot, how you create your mech, and how you create your crawler, which is all great. Going into stuff here. It's just basic lore stuff, details on the stop signs, how to play. It is just literally a single D20. A single D20 is pretty much all you need for this game. Aside from sheets and paper, or for me, my case, because I mainly play digitally, a virtual tabletop. I use Foundry VTT, although I know there is mainly support for this. There is support for this for Foundry VTT, which I'm comfortable with and happy with. It's really into detail and it's really well built. It's similar on the lines of Lancer. It is a fully built compendium with most of the stuff you need. It has all of the macros that you can just literally use your macros for all of your roles. It's kind of along the lines of Lancer of functionality. I also believe that there is a Roll20 version for this game that you can purchase. I haven't been able to find it specifically. I believe it may be only for Kickstarters. But that, I believe, comes with all the tokens for Roll20, all the assets you need for Roll20, which is kind of nice. I would be very happy if Leyline Presses was to put that in their store to let us buy a bunch of Mech tokens and player tokens and enemy tokens to use and port over to Foundry VTT. That would be very, very great. Please do that. I will buy it immediately. Then we're going to detail. And literally, first thing it does is bring you into pilot creation. So what I'm going to do is just go over here. The main thing you need to understand of your character creation is that your character always starts with 10 hit points, 5 ability points, which is basically spent for using certain skills during narrative play or during combat. And then you have 6 inventory slots, which is how much your player can carry. So first thing you do when you're in with your pilot is choosing a class. So these are what you see on the left here is these are all the classes in the game. You have 6 core classes, which is the Salvager, Soldier, Hacker, Engineer, Hauler, and Scout. As you progress these, you can branch into hybrid classes. So say you can go, if you start in with Scout and you finish the Snipertry of the Scout, you could say my Scout is now a Ranger, which unlocks the survival list for the Soldier. And then once you've got that survival list of the Soldier and you've got those 6 points, you can progress into the Advanced for your Ranger. And then you can go into the Legendary. You can only go for 8 skills, 10 skills total, unless you are the Salvager, which the Salvage can only go into these 5 core skills and cannot branch out any further. So your Salvager is your Jack of all trades, Master of none. A Salvager can't go into a hybrid class. The Salvager is only limited to the core, but they also get the benefit of they get 12 abilities rather than the limit of 10. So if you want to be a Salvager and you want to take branch all the small stuff and have those +2 extra abilities, you can do and benefit from that. If you want to progress through your main tree and then advance into get the Advaka hand stuff and legendary hacker stuff, you can do. It basically gives you some variety. Basically, it's a way of just giving yourself more, basically different classes and trees without actually having them all clumped in and hey, these are what you can select at the very start. I like the idea that you can start out as the core, and then if you want to branch out further, or maybe you already have that in mind, you can start off as a cyborg and immediately get the soldier and hacker tree for the cyborg and start off like that. Or you can start off as a scout, and while you're going through the sleuth's tree of the scout, you can slowly decide, hey, I want to become a smuggler. and then you can basically become a smuggler, which unlocks the hauler part of that tree, and you can use that to progress into a smuggler and get the advanced smuggler. You could also be a case of you could be many points into scout, and then decide you want to go into smuggler. You need those 3 points in hauler for salvaging to get your smugglers advanced. But one thing you could do is say during downtime, trade your points that you might have in different parts of the scout into that to kind of rebuild. It's really handy. So basically we'll just go into detail of like what each class can do. So your engineer is your basically just your repairer, your builder, your scrapper. They can take all the things and advance it further. They have the ability of just they can repair mechs in downtime or out of combat, which is going to be a handy ability if you have a mech that takes a ton of damage in the game. This isn't just limited to basically a single mech. You can spend a number of points, so it has X AP, so X ability points. Each time you spend an ability point, that's 4 points of SP that you can distribute with all those mechs. Super handy skill to have in the early game. I think the engineer is a very starter player friendly class. So start with engineer, and then you have the security of being able to repair your mechs during combat or out of combat to basically trug along and get as much salvage as possible. So you can basically deal with the attrition issue that might occur in certain situations in this game. Then again, I won't go into super detail around these. Basically, you have your hacker, who I haven't read much into, but they seem more basically tech attacky, versatile. In narrative play, they might be able to have access to certain information that might not be privy to other players. So basically, just going well actually, so they can get information told to them by the mediator, and then how that basically they know that knowledge. It's a way of basically giving players their lore dump or their technology dump. They can then replete that to other people or talk with other people who are of a similar mindset and build up that communication network. So a hacker might be handy with, say, communicating with someone that they meet, like, say you come across an enemy or an NPC, they are very tech savvy, rather than having to fight them, you could just technobabble your way past them as an option. Yeah, so you have your technobabble, they can hybrid it into Fabricator or Cyborg. Your hauler is your basically your communicator, your talker, your face, as well as your main hauler and your basically beefy salvage carrier. They can go into smuggler and union rip to basically advance those even further. Or they can literally just be a case of getting the maximum amount of salvage you want from a mission. Salvage is obviously your jack of all trades, master of none. They get all of the brown abilities, all of the core trees from every single class, but they cannot branch further. However, they get 12. That's the advantage of the salvager. So scout, again, exactly what the name says. They scout ahead. They can also take a sniper rifle, which is basically just as good as a mech's gun. So they can be efficient while even not in their mech, which can make them a very dangerous force during narrative play. So say they go scout ahead, they find an enemy, they could do some damage to that enemy and lure them into an ambush, basically. They have that advantage going to it. I really like the scout, personally. I'm kind of a big fan of the ranger. When we get to it, I'll go into that further, but they can also just talk their way through stuff. They can lie, they can create fake identities. At their legendary level, they can literally just become celebrities of the wasteland. And just be like considered a legend of the waste, which gets them certain benefits. It's a handy narrative tool. And can also just teleport as they please. You got your soldier, which is obviously your big fighter. They're able to taunt, they're able to just be resourceful, be your front line, kind of pair them with brawler mechs. They can become cyborgs or rangers, just to make them more efficient. Or they can stick with the soldier tree and just literally become a force to be reckoned with Omega Striking and Defying Death, to make them a bit more resilient. Your cyborg, which is the first hybrid class we're going to go with, is basically a combination of your hacker and your soldier. Basically, the idea of it is they become more machine than man, start working through things, they get all of these stimulants that make them more of a force to be reckoned with when even with outside of their mech. They can still do a lot of damage and be as powerful as a mech. When they get further, they can basically become nanomachines, son. Or they can just become virtual, just become digital. And just become a virtual AI. And just hotwire into their mech. That's how everything we're going with them. Your fabricator is basically your main builder class, mix of engineering and hacker. They're just going to be able to build stuff very easily, gain access to like mini EMPs, can modify their mechs even further, get that going with them. So if you want to focus more on making your mech stronger, you might want to go fabricator. And basically, if your idea is basically you want to keep improving your crew by making them stronger stuff, you can follow through with this. Then you've got the ranger. They get mecha companions and just basically just become a pack master. Basically, go into battle not only with your mech but with a bunch of little robot pets. They also get the sniper rifle that can deal double damage. Basically, they just become a more powerful scout with allies, rather than basically the scout itself in its advancement tree becomes more of a solo. This is more of a companion communication kind of class. While still being able to basically scout with friends rather than solo scout. And you watch your smuggler, who are your talkers and negotiators, as well as being able to salvage really well. And the legendary thing, they can have like a little knife that can just assassinate people. You can assassinate more people depending on the role. Super handy if you make a little like hot suave Han Solo class. Get stuff they want, go into further detail. Union rep, so the idea is that everyone is a part of a union. You're all pilot members of a union, of either an individual or of a group or a coalition. This is the representative of that. So this is your main talker class, your main negotiator class. With that, they have the advanced ability of basically flexing their reach and their power in the union to get things done. So basically, they can hire a completely separate team from the player groups to do certain missions and go through things, and that's all successes based on the role. Then they can literally just become VIPs or just become inspirational. And that's how our unions go around. Basically, if you want to play like your union representative, your leader, in a sense, you would go union rep. So once you've done that, so say, for example, I have my pilot sheet here. And say I'm going scout. Name and sender. You get to choose a motto, a keepsake, and a background. And the way that these work is you can, in narrative play, use these mottos or keepsakes to reroll during certain things. So long as you can negotiate that your motto is efficient for it, which is why I have do your best. Do your best is very flexible. So literally, you can just do it to hype yourself up or hype other people up. So just imagine like you're trying to roll for something, so you're trying to fix something. You don't like your roll, so you're on to reroll. You just literally just clap your face and go, do your best, and then you get to reroll, but you take that result. You can do the same with a lucky tooth. You can do the same with your background. As long as you can negotiate with your mediator well enough, it can be used to reroll, which is a handy thing for me. Again, we've got our nice little cute scout who's always motivational, doing your best, and was formerly free freelancer. You always start with 10 HP, and you always start with 6 ability points. You don't have any training points, but you do get 1 ability to start off with. So in this case, our scout is going to get shoot first, which is an ability that the scout can have, which allows them to basically spend 2 ability points to basically go first. And the idea of this is really powerful for combat, because when you roll for combat, you roll your group initiative, and this makes it an instant 20. So an instant 20 on an initiative roll in group combat is 2 players get to go first before the NPCs. So if you're a scout, this is really powerful. Hey Ace, how's it going? Yeah, we're in the middle of Salvage Union learning. Currently at player creation. I'm making Incinna the cute scout with do your best as their motto. And literally, it's basically you start off with 1 ability. So you choose your ability from any tree, and then you get to go further. And then say, like, once this is done, you get to choose your inventory. So my plucky little scout is going to take an improvised firearm, because gun. A gun will be handy in the wasteland. Especially at least until my scout can get a sniper rifle, which is one of their other abilities. But that is not something that they will have right off the bat, so an improvised firearm will be handy. And then I'm going to take a high tensile wire, which is a wire that can be used for rigging and salvaging. As well as stuff like climbing and towing. So it just makes it a nice, useful, universal tool that we can use to our advantage. So that's that. So say we have this is our scout. If I wanted to say I had some downtime to do some training and I had the scrap for it, I could spend 1 scrap to go some training and get spotter. Which basically gives my person the ability to identify targets across long areas. And basically just mark targets from my allies. And basically all of this would be handy for a scout because it makes it basically useful for combat. So this basically was along with the idea that my scout is super useful in mech combat because of the ability to make the entire group go first, with 2 players going first because it would be a 20 roll, and also being able to mark a target for an ally to attack as a reaction. But again, with you shoot first, I have to go first. So there is the trade-off to that. Yeah, then that's it. That's basically how this goes with your mech. Oh, with your pilot. So we have our pilot built, we've made our gear. And then basically you have a bunch of other gear that goes into different techs. We only get to choose tech 1 for starting our pilot off. But later on, as we go and progress things through downtime and get loads of salvage, we can start making things like with tech 2, using the armory of our union crawler, or just making it ourselves. So like the engineer can jerry rig, so the engineer, if an engineer had tech 2 salvage, they could just make all this stuff. And it just goes further and further. There is a roll table for your call sign if you want to choose one, in your background, your keepsakes and mottos, and your appearance. There is AI personality tables, so you can have AI partners in this game with certain abilities. You get to choose their roller traits there. So yeah, that's basically it for your pilot. Next up, we're going to go with our mech. So, pipes. Every time I'm recording, it's always the pipes. The pipes. Give it a moment to subside. Yeah, I am hydrating. I have also missing a piece of my drinks bottle has gone missing. My little plastic seal has gone. And I'm wondering where the fuck that's gone. Because that is very important. Because that stops my drink from spilling. Where have you gone? Little plastic nub. If I can't find that, I'll probably have to buy a new drinks bottle. Unless it's in my drink, in which case I may have drunk it. We'll see. Okay, once the pipes subside, we can continue. It'll be fine. It'll turn up. Or I'll just buy a new drinks bottle. Yeah, I'll probably just buy a new drinks bottle or something. You just have to be careful when taking sips. Alright. No more hissing. So we can go straight on to the next part. So the next part is mech creation. So when building your mech for the first time, or building your first mech, you are limited to 20 Tech 1 scrap. So this limits you to only making a Tech 1 mech. And you have 20 scrap, and every part of your mech takes a certain amount of scrap. So your main mech takes scrap, and all of the parts and modules for your mech cost scrap. Or for each mech has a recommended build, or 3 recommended builds. And the first build always utilizes a full 20. Some utilize even less. And yeah, so basically you get your scrap. Every chassis has a certain amount of points, basically built for their HP, how much carrying capacity they have, stuff like that. And also have a core ability that makes them unique. You get to jot down your mech statistics. You get to add stuff to your mech for crafting. And then you go into detail of basically you craft your modules for your mech, you choose your mech quirks, you describe your mech's appearance, and then you can name your mech. With the naming convention being you choose something and then add a number at the end, so Roach 1, Slinky 1, stuff like that. So basically just here's a little bit of detail of every detail of your mech. So your mech has energy points, it spends energy points to use certain mech abilities. It has a take level, it has a chassis ability, which is the core ability of your mech that makes it unique. It has systems, so basically systems are what you install on the mech. It has a certain number of cargo slots. Structure points, which is its HP. Heat cap, which is basically as it uses certain abilities, or if you choose to push your mech for a reroll, it will generate heat and then you roll on a heat table. The salvage value of the mech, which basically is how much salvage is used to build that mech, or how much salvage you will get from that mech if you choose to scrap it. And then modules, which are basically extra things that you use for your mech to do certain things. And then basically, here's what the mech page would look like. I don't have a mech thing here right now, so we're gonna skip it and we're gonna go to the fun thing, which is basically I'm going to go on to I can't do that. I don't have fancy Adobe. So basically I will actually bring everyone over to no, that's not it. Yeah. Foundry VTT time, baby. Yes. I am here. I am not AFK. So yes, this is Foundry VTT. This is what I use to run. This is what I'm using to run Salvage Union for myself and for my players. Here's a little example of what a region map looks like. But I'm going to go into detail of mech stuff. So I have made a mech. This is Disco Inferno. My little red Mozona. And I suppose actually what we'll do first is I should have named these better. Yeah. Basically here are the example mechs you have. So you have the mule, which is basically literally a pack mule mech. It you can see its structure points, its energy points, its heat cap, its system slots. So that's how many systems you can install, how many modules you can install. Cargo capacity is basically how much you can carry. It's tech level 1, and it costs 7 salvage to build. And again, its chassis ability is literally it changes its cargo capacity from 10 to 16. So basically, just basically a mech you would use to be able to hold as much salvage as possible before you need to like bring it all to your crawler. And then it has like literally its main pattern is the hauler pattern. I am selecting the Amazona, which is your squishy hoverbee. Its starting build, which is the buzzer pattern, does not cost 20. It actually only costs 16. So that leaves you with 4 left over. And that's left on your Union Crawler, which is super handy. The Amazona is very fragile because it only has 5 structure points, but it also costs 4 salvage to build. So very much a expendable asset. Apart from the fact that you can start off with a self-destruction mod, which I do not advise for any new player to have this. Because there is no way in hell, unless you roll a natural 20, you are surviving your mech blowing up. But also, if you are able to keep your Amazona alive long enough, you can have 2 flamethrowers that are linked together. So you can use both your flamethrowers at the same time to do a ton of damage right off the bat before you get slapped. So this is the idea of literally a mech that goes in first, does damage, and hopefully doesn't die as it runs away. And leaves the rest of the team to clean up. And then basically we go on, we have our Scrapper, which is more of your brawly mech. You can start off with a chainsaw arm, and escape hatch so amazing that you can escape your mech safely if it was to break. A riveting gun, which means it can repair itself, and a rigging arm, which means it can collect salvage. Just a handy lot of stuff. So your Scrapper is a good choice for a starting mech. You have the Spectrum, which is a lot more tanky. It is more of a scanner mech, because it has the data scanner, which you can use 2 energy points as a quick action. This is actually what I was thinking of with my Scout. It's basically just my Scout is in this mainly just for data collection and scanning, and then holding. And then my Scout could literally just climb out, sit here with a sniper rifle to do damage from far as an alternative. So this is what my Scout will probably upgrade into. You get your Thresher, which is basically another tier 1 mech, another kind of brawly mech. More also salvage as well. It's a bit more beefier because you can start off with armor plating. It has a red laser as well, so it can do some damage. Very good for like a soldier's mech. And again, it has a very heavy armored chassis, so basically you can't add 20 a Thresher, which is handy. And then literally we can go into like Tech 2, which is like your Forge, your Gopher, which is kind of like another like handy little combat mech. Then you go into more detail and either go more into combat orientated mechs or salvage orientated mechs, like with the Jackhammer, which is just really good at salvage and mining. Dragon, your Magpie, Mirror Ball. So you'll notice like as soon as you go into like Tech 2, you get a lot more structure to get to become a lot more tanky. So that increases your survivability. Especially when as you go up with bigger things. You can literally just be this is a good hauler mech, so literally this is a mech that can carry other mechs, which makes it super handy. The way I see this is like if you can use this to carry over mechs, you can literally use this to carry backup mechs if you wanted. Like take an Atlas, put some like basic mechs in there as like backup, and have that trailing behind. So if a pilot breaks their mech or overexerts it and overdamages it, you can literally swap them out on the fly. And has a really large cargo capacity. However, it would actually be using that cargo capacity to carry mechs. And it carries mechs based on its salvage value. And you have like your brawlers. And as you go, the mechs you get can get more and more advanced, meaning they have a ton more hit points, can carry more things and do more damage, and also have like higher heat caps. But cost a ton of salvage to actually make. It's like 16 Tech 4 salvage. It is really hard to just get a hand of. It would take a lot of work to actually get towards and work towards this, and then you would hope you can keep that kind of mech alive. and it does require you to upgrade your Union Crawler as you're going through this. You just go through and go through and go through and go through, and then you get Worm. Just become the Ice Worm, just crawling through and mining everything. And yeah, that's that. And then we can move on to like what your mech can carry. A bunch of systems. As you go through the tech systems, you can go through more advanced stuff. To even going as so far as your mech can have a nuke. Which, the Fat Man being able to just decimate things in one single go, I feel like it's a very narrative weapon. Where is it? Where is it? Where is the Fat Man? Where is my Fat Man? Where is the Fat Man? Right. Here we go, the Fat Boy. Basically, the Fat Boy is like a nuke that can decimate just an entire location. Again, it costs 15 tier 6 salvage to carry. So it's very hard to build and work towards. I could see this being something that is kind of like a narrative. Hey, we work towards building a nuke, and that is literally the campaign goal. Hi, Cal. Yeah, no, I find the net nuke not requiring a role to be very basically narrative. It's basically everyone sits there and discusses should the nuke be used. I literally think like the main case of this is basically, especially if you're playing in campaign where the world has faced nuclear devastation, the nuke or the knowledge of a Fat Boy is a great deterrent to protect your Union Crawler. It basically turns the campaign into Metal Gear, because everything becomes about nuclear deterrence, and maybe that's what the campaign devolves to. So every Union Crawler or every corp place just becomes like they have a nuke, and you've got to go to like the nuclear deterrence option of basically having a nuke yourself to protect yourself. Or maybe you want to go like full nuclear disarmament, and that becomes the campaign. Or basically you're going to disarm every single nuke and every single Fat Boy. And like at the moment you catch wind of someone building a Fat Boy, you start working towards stopping them. That could be like a very good narrative hook of basically just stopping people. Like literally the whole purpose of the Union Crawler that the players are on is to stop people from building nukes. That could be something. It could also be a case of the nuclear decimated world has a monster that literally is attracted to it. So if a nuke is used, that Biotitan could be attracted, and you could have like a Godzilla situation of literally, hey, nuke's been deployed, Godzilla is coming, run. So yeah, a lot of like narrative stuff for like this. Also, there are nanites in this game. I will never escape nanites in any campaign I do. There will be nanites. But yeah, basically that's it. And then you go into modules, which are basically just extra systems for your mech. And then, so basically we'll go over to the, where is my, yes. So my Mazona, aka Disco Inferno, is just literally just a basic Mazona build. It has the weapon link flamethrowers. So I'm able to fire both my flamethrowers at the same time, but I generate 2 more heat. But because the flamethrower it does 1 SP, which means it does 2 HP. But because it does it's anti-organic, it does ×2 to humans. Or anything that is considered organic. And then applies burn. So if you use this on a human unit or an organic unit, it is devastating because literally a flamethrower will do 4 HP. No, actually, no, you're not even 4 HP. Because it would do 2 HP. 2 HP times 2. I'm using 2 together, so I'll be doing 8. So it could literally one-shot organic units or organic monsters. Or organic monsters. As an option. So basically that's it. But again, the Mazona only has 5 HP, which makes it very fragile, means it can get one shot by most things. It does not have an escape hatch, so my player inside of this, it's definitely going to get some form of devastating critical injury. Unless I self-destruct. Which, if I self-destruct, one, I self-destruct and can't escape because I don't have an escape hatch. And even if I did have an escape hatch, I would be close, so I would still be in the blast radius. So depending on my HP, based on the self-destruct, so because the self-destruct damage is SP based on my heat, I would take a maximum of 6 HP times 6 SP damage, which is 12 for a human, meaning I would be instantly killed. So I would only really be safe to do this on like 3 heat. So 3 to 4 heat, get out. I would get out on like 2 HP if I had an escape hatch. The only way I could safely escape hatch self-destruct is if I had rolled a 20 on my escape roll. Which is something I am not going to be able to do. Because like literally I'll just get it out now, like escape hatch. Escape hatch roll table. If I was to roll this here, let me just pop that out so you can see. Neep. I roll a 17. I safely get out of my mech in close range. But yeah, close range, still in the blast radius. I'm still going to blow up. So there's that. And also, again, once you do that, you cannot recover your mech. It's lost all of its salvages, lost all of its systems. So I've literally just blown up 16 salvage to do that. And then I'm not in my mech for the rest of the battle. As opposed to, say, my example engineer who is in Alpaca 1, which is a mule. They have 12 HP, which makes them extra sturdy, but only 4 energy points, so they can only use so much. They're not really good big brawlers, but they can do a ton of stuff and be super strong and super handy. They have an escape hatch. If you want to communicate with your other players while in a mech, you need the comms module, which makes it important. Or you can use the loudspeaker to talk far away, but also that creates noise which attracts attention. Basically, you have that. You can that's how the customization for mechs goes. You go into just building stuff as is, and like you can literally choose depending on how much salvage you have, what you are putting in your mech, and that's how things go. So you build your mech. So again, like the example of a mule, Alpaca 1. Ace is in a scrapper. So you would have Ace's engineer in Moonbeam, which can basically has a rivet gun, which means it can repair on the fly. And do all of this stuff and still salvage because it has a chainsaw arm. Just make a mech with all chainsaws and call it Denji 1. Yeah. It's a lot of customization, like at the first, like at the start you don't have much options, but as you complete missions and collect salvage and go through downtime, you can basically just build up further and further. Which leads us to the next thing, so your Union Crawler, which is basically your main hub. So your main hub is your Union Crawler. So basically once all the players have made their characters and you get them all together for a single session, they get to choose what the Union Crawler is, which is kind of like choosing what the goal of the campaign is for them. And that's how you would basically choose the kind of campaign people are going with. Yeah, Atlas might be. Yeah, the Atlas is good. Like, just become a walking tank. Like, you could also just go Ice Swim and be really handy for salvage, while also being really tangy. So you get your Union Crawler, you get to choose your name, you get to choose its type, you get to choose it has its ability and description. It has its SP, which is its overall health, its tech level, which is basically the level of the Union Crawler itself, and you upgrade it over time. Its upkeep is basically after every mission, you need this much upkeep. If you do not have this much upkeep, something goes wrong with the Union Crawler. And then you have your upgrade, which is how much to upgrade it from Tech 1 to Tech 2. And as it upgrades to Tech 2, you unlock more things and your bays become more improved. So again, each bay has an NPC dedicated to it, and also has a feature that might be useful during downtime or for the benefit of basically what you do in your week as the Union Crawler is moving and negotiating with other Union Crawlers. So like you have, so before that though, we'll go through like Union Crawler types. So you have your augmented crawler, which is basically your super advanced virtual AI piloted Union Crawler, which has the benefit of having the Union Crawler AI, which is an advanced intelligence. So this is more of like a, hey, this is a Corpo Union Crawler, or this is more of like a super advanced tech society Union Crawler. So like the people involved in this may be a case of, hey, this Union Crawler wants to take advantage of having this super powerful AI, or wants to advance, or having like this, wants to just advance technology further. So like your science team Union Crawler. You could have a crawler that is just purely built for battle, which gives you improved armor and armament, and also gives you the grizzled veteran NPC, which basically is just basically an NPC. The NPC for your armory just has more HP and can have like their own special grizzled team. So this is very much a armed mercenary battle crawler. So basically, if you would want to use this battle crawler, you'd probably be utilizing the fact that you have these grizzled veterans, and you're kind of just built for combat and built for war. You have your engineering one, so literally this could be a case of, hey, this Union Crawler is built to repair things, do like construction jobs. So basically, the idea of this Union Crawler could be it goes from place to place, rebuilding and structuring settlements, and also like assisting other Union Crawlers. That could be the role of this engineering crawler. To like say, hey, you've got this job, you got to go to this Union Crawler, you're going to help them rebuild it because they fucked up and their Union Crawler is destroyed. Or you're going to go to their X settlement and help rebuild this settlement and basically make defenses. Or literally, hey, your goal is literally just going to keep building and structuring and salvaging, and then bring all that salvage back. Now, and that's basically the engineer crawler. And the advantage of this is literally your special NPC for this is literally just a special researcher. Then you have your exploration crawler. So this is very much a, hey, this crawler is meant to go into uncharted territory. Like your NPC when going into uncharted territory is a wasteland explorer. So basically this is just like an explorer who knows the land you're going to. So literally this could be like a One Piece situation of basically, hey, you've seen this guy. He knows like where this like promised land is. He's going to guide you there and tell you stories along the way that will help you with your mission. You can literally just ask this guy 2 questions and he has to answer truthfully. So basically you get two pieces of information from the mediator about the area you're going to, which will help you basically know how to prepare for it and how to avoid certain dangers. Or you can literally just have your goal be purely trading, and you get an improved trading bay. Your focus would be like being savvy, having a savvy trader, and basically just negotiating with other Union crawlers and like negotiating jobs and negotiating other things, and basically just building up your riches for your Union crawler. You will be the golden Union, the golden crawler. The golden crawler. And then like after that is like your tech crawler, your Union crawler. At every tech level, it has a certain number of HP and basically increases in size. So like literally, you start off with like a little hamlet Union crawler. It doesn't have much HP. It doesn't need much upkeep. As you go to Tech 2, you've literally got a small village. As it grows even more, it can become a town. Become a city crawler. So literally, you would just be walking on a mass, like a literally walking city, if you wanted. And again, it gives you an example of like the approximate population of the crawler. Like you have approximately have like 100 to 500, and then mega city, 25,000 people. So I see like the bigger the Union crawler gets, the more it stops trying to just move everywhere. Or maybe you go into like a giant Union crawler warfare, it's like Mega City Crawler versus Mega City Crawler. You have that. As you upgrade your crawler over time, its upkeep increases, which means you need to keep spending important scrap to build it. If you fail that, you have to roll a Union crawler table, which determines basically what happens. So like your Union crawler might lose HP, it might just still chug along even though you didn't get its upkeep, or it might literally just crash and burn. So keep in mind, you have a really big Union crawler with 15,000 people. You fail an upkeep and it becomes destroyed. That's 15 to 25,000 people displaced. So yeah, not the best thing to have on like the shoulders of the Union team. And that's that. And again, if your Union crawler gets destroyed, that's another bad thing. You can repair it over time when you get the scrap for it. And then every Union crawler has bays. But every bay has an NPC dedicated to it. And has something you can do in downtime. So downtime and what you can do in downtime is left to interpretation. I think it's basically left to the DM's choice of like how much time a player has during downtime to do things. So like you have your commander bay, which is basically just used to plot your next move. You have your mech bay, which is basically where your mechs stay and where you can upgrade and change your mechs, and your mechs can basically just be fully healed and maintained. You get your storage bay, which is basically where all of like the scrap you've collected and not spent can go. And just basically step there. You have your armament bay, which is basically where every downtime, if you want to dedicate some time to the armament bay, you can get a special piece of equipment for your player. Basically based on the tech level of the crawler. That's how basically you would improve your crawler, basically your player's inventory. Like say your player wants a new gun, you would come to the armory. Or say like crafting bay, if you want to actually craft something or make a new module for your mech, you need to spend time in the crafting bay to do it. Same for trading. If you want to trade all of your lower level scrap for high level scrap, so say you want to trade 12 level 1 scrap for a 2 level 6 scrap, this is where you would do it. You need to have someone in that bay to do that trading. And then you have like stuff like your med bay. So one thing at the very start that makes kind of things dangerous is you cannot heal critical injuries in a Tech 1 or Tech 2 Union Crawler. Which my impression means that they take a lot longer to heal. So you're sitting with those critical injuries for a while when you get them. So that does make the early game quite dangerous, in my opinion. That's something I may make changes to, but we'll see. And you have your pilot bay, which is basically where you train. So if you want to go into the training bay, this is basically where you would advance your training. So you want to train a core ability, you would spend part of your week in the pilot bay training up, which is basically spending scrap to get that training point, and then you can allocate that training point into a new core ability. So you get one core ability every time you train, so basically you could get one core ability 2 weeks. And then as you get to higher levels, you would take 2. So it might take 2 weeks of training to start getting your training points. So basically the idea would seem to be everyone goes into the training bay every week to get those training points built up. Again, you can spend training points to reallocate skills as well on a one-to-one system. But the way I see it is kind of you can only do so much in a week. So players should negotiate where they're allocating their time to. So the way I see it is basically, hey, you've got only like enough time to maybe like visit 3 bays during your week and allocate your time. That kind of like gives an idea of like you can't all like spend your time in the training bay. And, like have every pilot in the training bay for that week because you're not doing other things. Or you can't have like every player in every single bay doing stuff. So I would probably like limit a player to 3 bays, which means that players have to split their time to do certain things, especially for training. Then you've got your armory, which is basically where all your pilot equipment is, and then your cantina, which is where you go down, you get your food. I've just spilled my drink. It's fine. So yeah, you basically just go that. You get your rumors. You get to like figure out where you're going with. You get to get your nice meal. And it's also where you replenish all of like your stuff. So yeah, and that's your unit crawler. You get to give it a name. It has its own movement, so it moves a lot slower than your mechs, and so on and so forth. It can go through downtimes as you see. So basically, say you go through a mission, and then you back to your union crawler. You then go into post downtime. So this is really something that you could even do off session. Basically, what you would do is basically you would tally your salvage. So basically, you would get all the salvage come together, and basically the players you would like sift through it, say, hey, we've got this much salvage. What are we wanting to trade? What are we wanting to keep? Are we wanting to build new mechs? And that's basically what you need. The first thing you should really suggest doing is whether or not you're going to pay your upkeep, which is what you've got to do anyway. So some salvage has to go into that upkeep for the mech, or for the union crawler. That immediately gets taken out of your tally. Then you have, do you want to upgrade your union crawler, or do you want to work towards your upgrading your union crawler? Then that's what you could do. And then basically the idea is whatever salvage you've got left, you can either choose to keep it there, or use it to build new mechs, build new things, get new equipment, train up your pilots, etc., etc. And then basically you go through that. Your mechs heal when back in the union crawler because they're all in the mech bay. You get the trade, you get the craft, you get the customize, and then you basically start preparing for the next salvage run. So it almost seems like you go through every bay anyway during downtime. So you might have to allocate and split players to decide what happens. Or the NPCs in those bays could be doing that, though not as efficiently as you because they won't be able to roll. But yeah, they go through that, and like here's an example of like some of the mechs. And then we go through the core rules. So again, everything in this game uses a flat roll, it uses a flat d20 for combat and for everything else. So like for narrative stuff, when I say this is something that requires a roll and what the consequences of that roll failing or succeeding are, this is what you do. You roll a d20, and then if you're in your mech, you get to push it, meaning you might get to reroll. If you have a keepsake or a motto that you haven't used yet, you can use that to reroll. But it's always a 75% chance with a 25% chance of it happening with consequence. You are always dealing with those flat rates. There are no plus like 1s or 2s or rolling 2d20s. It is always just a flat 20, and you either negotiate with your mediator of what the consequences will be. It is always just one roll unless you have something that lets you roll twice, like your keepsake or your heat for your mech. And then we go through. So again, every time you want to push a mech, and so every time you build heat with a mech, we're going to go back to here. So we're going to get my fancy little Disco Inferno out. Every time you build heat with a mech, so say for example my mech is going to use its flamethrower, it's going to use a single flamethrower, it's not going to link them. And it rolls, so like I select my flamethrower, I roll. Say I'm not happy with that roll because I have a setback. I'm going to give myself 2 heat, and re-roll. But I have to take this new result, which is even worse. But I still have to roll on my heat cap. And I failed, meaning my reactor is going to overload. So then I have to roll on my reactor overload to see what happens. So my mech has shut down and gained the vulnerability trait, meaning it's going to take double damage until I reactivate my mech. Or my mech takes an amount of SP damage equal to my current heat, so my mech takes 2 damage. Because I flubbed that roll. So again, failing a roll can have dire consequences, but you do get the options to re-roll. So, if I had fucked up really badly and dual linked, I would be on maximum heat already, meaning I would be rolling that twice. Yes, it's very much a flat roll. The dice gods can really screw you over, but that's all part of the fun of the narrative. So let's reset that. And that's what happens when you push, and when you overheat and react, your reactor goes up. Your initiative is a group initiative, so as a group, you roll for your group. So, like, for example, I'm actually going to put that there. Where is my group initiative? So basically, you can roll group initiative, and that determines the order your players go with in combat. So I rolled a 7. The NPCs get to choose one NPC chosen by the players gets to act first, and then it's passed to the players, and then back and forth through initiative. But because you have a fancy pants scout called in Cinder, who has the ability of you shoot first, I get to turn that into a natural 20, which means 2 of our players get to go first. But the scout has to go literally first before the NPCs get their turn, which is what makes the scout really strong. So basically, the idea is basically a scout spends 2 AP and basically combat initiative victory. Yes. Yay. And so forth, so forth. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you an example of the basically the combat maps. So from what I've seen, there are 2 good examples of combat maps, and you can use them to basically vary range. So I have this map, and the idea is you have your mech in an area. You have your enemies in an area. And then you negotiate what the range band is. So say, for example, close range is anything within the same square or cylinder as you. That is close. Anything over is mid-range, and anything further is that. You could also change it so anything that is touching, so what I've just pinged here, is close, medium, and then far. Basically to give an idea of like what the grid size is, and so far and so forth. So you just have, we have a little raider band here, and we have our fighting box wheel. And we're going to play with the idea that the one over is close, as well as the square you're in is close, then mid, then far. Then first things first, like so again, roll initiative. Safe, but like, so that would be happening if we didn't have a scout, but we have a scout, so it's going to be a natural 20, so 2 players get to go first. So I would have, say, Amazon flying over here. He's now right next to this band of raiders. He's going to actually link his flamethrowers, meaning he gets to use 2 flamethrowers at once. So I get to fire attack with both of these flamethrowers. These are both individual rolls. I immediately gain 2 heat because I'm firing 2 weapons, and then have to roll the heat check. which I pass because I rolled higher than a 2. Then what's going to happen is I attack with my flamethrowers. So I roll my attack for the first flamethrower. It hits with a success. So I immediately do... So this is health, meaning I do 2. I do 2, which puts them on 4. Because they're organic, I put them on 2. And they have 2 burn. Or 1 burn. So literally, I just put burn on them now. At the end of their turn, they're going to take 1 burn. But that's just 1 flamethrower attack. I have a second flamethrower because I linked them, so I get to roll again. And it was a success. Meaning they're dead. They're literally just on fire, not having the best time. Say, for example, I didn't roll that great. So let me just flub a roll. I said let me flub a roll. I said let me flub a roll. There we go. So say I flub the roll. And we have to make a tough choice. Basically, I select an action at a cost. So my attack hits, but I have to make a tough choice. So my Mazona has to make the choice of what would happen. So this is where you would discuss with your mediator what happens. So it could be, hey, I've hit with this flamethrower, but my flamethrower is going to break, so I won't be able to use it. So we would toggle it as damaged. Or my flamethrower is going to hit, but they get to shoot back at my Mazona, which means they would get a turn. So say they get to shoot back, or my flamethrower only does half damage. If I was to negotiate my flamethrower only does half damage, then they still die. But so that would not be a good setback, because literally that is a setback without you getting a consequence. I would say the setback is they get to shoot back at you. And then we discuss what they've got. So they've got a single improvised firearm that does 4 HP worth of damage, so it only does 2 damage to a mech. They get to shoot back before they die. So we roll. And they failed. So they failed so bad that a player got to choose a setback. So I missed, but my player still gets to shoot back at them. But they're not going to do it because they're going to die anyway. Because they're dead. And then that would be my scout's turn. Then we'll say this is Alpaca's turn. Alpaca's going to move over here. We're going to determine that this is close range. My Alpaca has a 50 cal machine gun that does 2 SP damage ballistic. With jamming and pinning. So it rolls. And fails horribly. So it's going to gain 2 heat and roll a heat check to re-roll. But it has to take this new result, which is rolled a natural 20. Which means you get to do bonus damage. Or you get to choose the additional bonus damage, which could be a case of, do you want to do double damage, which is like, would be wise to do, because this mech only has 2 HP. So it doesn't really matter whether or not you did that, because the machine gun actually does 2 HP. So you've done 2 HP to that boxcar, and it's destroyed. Then yeah, that is basically mission over. You then continue salvaging in the area. So one thing you could do is say, hey, my mech is going to salvage this fighting box wheel that we've just destroyed. And like, it's going to use... Basically, the player is going to use high tension wire to just drag this behind it. So basically, we've just got 2 Tech 1 scrap from that. Organic people, because they've been shish kebabbed and cooked, We're not cannibals, so we won't take them with us. If, let's say, these were something like bears, you could take bears as salvage, as meat, but it would be a case of they would count for their HP in salvage to trade, not to keep, in a sense. So basically, we would have bear meat to trade for like 5 salvage, which in itself is a handy thing. So, like, we could say, hey, we're going to put this bear on the back of a mule. That's fine. You can't exactly do that with raiders, especially with raiders that have just been flamethrowed. Say one thing we could do if we really wanted to go dark with a campaign is, hey, we are going to take these raiders prisoners. We're going to trade them to corpos or security forces to face justice. Then we could probably trade them for salvage, but that would be slavery, and that is a red flag for me, so I am not going to do that. If the raiders were still alive or on low HP, they would have the option to roll a morale check and flee. You should always strive for mercy, because everyone is just trying to survive in this post-apocalypse mech RPG. Yeah, that's one example of combat. If you go over to the second range brand, so this one is much wider, so I would probably use this for bigger battles. Or, say we're in a situation where, hey, our scout was scouting, because that's what scouts do, and oh shit, bears. And like, we'll say, alpaca is here, the scout's mech is here, and we'll say moonbeam is just a bit too further away. This is a situation where the scout really wants to use their ability to roll a natural 20 for initiative. So that's what we're going to do. But the scout's got to go first. The scout is not wanting anything to do with those bears, although it could. The scout may have the option of like moving close and shooting a bear and hoping for the best. But he only has an improvised firearm that does 3 HP, so yes, Scout in Cinder is going to book it. So we get to move 1 square until they get to their mech. So what's going to happen is Gundam is going to take a turn and basically move to cover, and then that's their turn. Then it's the bear's turn. Bear moves to 1 range band. Then it's player's turn. Alpaca moves up. Then it's other bear's turn. And then that's done. Then it's initiative roll again. I believe you roll initiative every round. It's every round or you stick with initiative. I like the idea of rolling initiative every round because of how versatile it is. Sorry, that's the wrong roll. I think every round someone new should roll the group initiative. So this is the group initiative. 1 pilot gets to go first. So I'm going to have Mule, Alpaca 1 go first. So it can cover. So it's going to move here. Then it's going to shoot this bear with the 50 cal. It's just going to fire a 50 cal at the bear. Bear only has like 5 HP. So hope for the best. And it hits. And it hits a natural 20, meaning I'm going to say this hits the bear and does double damage. So it hits the bear for 2. Since the bear only has HP, that would be 4 damage. And we're going to say that's double, so that's 8 damage. So the 50 cal rips the bear apart, doing 8 points of damage to it, so that bear is dead. This bear is going to roll morale. And that bear's still going to go. So now it's this bear's turn. So this bear is actually going to move to this range band and attack. So the bear has bear carnage, meaning it can only do HP damage, so this will do half damage to the mech. But it still gets to do it anyway. And it's successful and gets to do damage, so it does half of 4 to Alpaca. It only does 2 points. And then we play out. Now I know that bear has safely had its turn. So Incinder is going to shoot it with an improvised firearm because they're kind of a safe distance away. The Incinder shoots. Does not do as great. So what we're going to do as a consequence is say, hey, I'm going to shoot back at the bear. What do we want to happen here? The bear can either attack Incinder for free, or we can say, hey, my firearm just blew up in my hands as I turned in a panic to shoot. So what I'm going to say here is, as I was going to shoot, my unwieldy improvised firearm blew up in my hand. And like, I'll say I'll take 1 point of damage because my hand just had a gun blow up on it, and my gun is broken. So yeah, that's not great for me. I'm just gonna run. I'm gonna run till I get to my mech. But fortunately, my good friend Ace gets to take a turn. They're gonna move forward and try and finish off this bear. Also, let me just scold this bear. There you go. Bear dead. So they don't really have weapons. They have a single chainsaw arm for a weapon. So it's going to use the chainsaw arm against the bear. And hope for the best. And yeah, it hopes for the best because we rolled a natural 20, so we nailed it. So the chainsaw, which does 2 SP damage, is going to do, which would be 4 damage to a bear because the bear uses HP. We do 8 points of damage to the bear, so literally rip the bear apart with a chainsaw. So yay! Incinder left somewhat unscathed but doesn't have a gun anymore. And we have 2 bears. So we have some meat. If we feel like bear is being a very tasty treat. So we could like pack these bears onto mule. And then say we go back to the area map. Say our mechs are in like this area here. Our mechs are here. Our Union Crawler is all the way over here at the start because it would take it a lot longer to get over. And like saying moving from like one area to another might take an hour for us, but it will take a day for the Union Crawler. So like we're here. So we can still continue salvaging. So every area here has a supply limit. So minimum you can have 5 salvage attempts or for a certain amount of salvage. So say for example, we're in this area. This area has supply 5, meaning we can roll 5 times for our salvage. So say Mule Alpaca 1 is going to roll a salvage. See how much scrap we can get. Yeah, 3 scrap tech, so we'll say we've got 3 tech level 1 scrap. So you would go to their inventory. Salvage value 3. So we've got 3 tech level 1 scrap, that's taken 3 slots. If we say that Mule is also carrying the bears, we'll say 10. So that's how much Mule is carrying at the moment. But we have 13 salvage so far from the bears. We can still continue to salvage, so now Ace is going to salvage. We get 1 piece of tech level scrap in our area. But then we still have 3 more attempts. So we get to continue. If we were in the situation where we found the mech that was destroyed, we could use salvage mech as an option. But we're just going to continue just normal salvage. Find 1 piece of level scrap. Find 3, so 4 more. So 4 tech, 1 salvage. And you're almost max capacity. So now the only person who can really carry salvage is me, Incinder. So I'm going to use the last roll to see what we can get. And I get 3 pieces of tech 1 salvage. And there we go. So, right there and then, we've just got a very good haul because we're carrying 5 pieces of Tech 1 salvage, 6, 7, 8, 21, basically 21 tier 1 salvage. And we're going to say, hey, that's good for us. Here's what we're going to do. Let's fall back to the Union Crawler because we're not finished yet. And what we're going to do is we're going to dump all of that salvage into our Union Crawler. So let's say 21 points of Tech 1 salvage. Is now on Union Crawler. That's definitely enough to make her upkeep because her upkeep is only 5. But we've almost got enough to upgrade. And we're not even done. And then basically we can just carry in. And then say like, oh, mechs can just go back out. Hours travel to this area. An hour's travel to a new area. And then basically the way it is like say, hey, within this area, there is a certain amount of salvage, but you also might find X NPCs. Do you want to avoid them? Do you want to continue what you're doing? Do you want to talk to them? So say like as we've come here, we've just met other raiders, but these raiders are keeping a distance from us. We'll say we come here and we found a tier 2 mech. And that we can salvage. So what we're going to do is like say Mule is going to salvage the mech. See what we can get from it. And I get to choose the chassis or a system or module of my choice from the mech. It's damaged, but outside of that, it's fine. So what I'm going to say is we found, so let me just delete the salvage because it's no longer on our mech. We could only like salvage 50 cal. Which is in salvage, so I can't do that for some reason. So salvage a 50 cal, which is salvage value 2. Again, 50 cal. It's only salvage value 2. So we're carrying that 50 cal on the mech. And we can continue to salvage. So yeah, we've salvaged the mech. That's about it we can get from that mech now. So it's back to salvaging the area. 3 more pieces of salvage. And basically that's how it goes. So like each area might have a certain narrative situation or a certain thing. And basically you work your way through until you get to like the other area, which kind of breaks which is basically the main place you're going to for like certain salvage, and it breaks it down. So the idea is you'd have your like a big map, which is like a regional map. It would break into this smaller area map, and then it would break down into an even smaller map. Like say we come here into A7, and like A7 is like broken up into like a few small zones that let us like link up. Like all link up like that. It's not going the way I want it to. So like they all link together like that in like little smaller areas that we can go through and salvage individual things. And that's basically how it goes. And then once that's done, or once we feel like we've got enough salvage we want, we go all the way back to our Union Crawler and dump it all off. And then that's mission complete. We tally all of the salvage we've got. So it's like, say we got like tons of salvage, enough salvage to like manage our upkeep. Like say we got another 10 pieces of Tech 1 salvage. hey, that's enough to upgrade our mech. Or say we have some tier 2 salvage, that's enough to trade. So basically what we're going to do is say we meet our upkeep, so we pay our upkeep and take 1 scrap. And we tally it together, so basically I delete these. I say we got 33 total, take 1 salvage, delete them. That's how much salvage we got, 33 total. We tally that together, we might reduce, we go -5. So it goes to 28. We no longer have enough to upgrade our mech, but we have enough to do other things we want to do. But we've met our upkeep. So say, hey, I want to make a mech. Or I want to trade this salvage for Tech 2 salvage so I can make a Tech 2 mech. We go to the trading bay and say, hey, what I want to trade. Okay. First things first, I need to remember to link my tokens. Let's say, like, I want to trade, like, some Tech 1 salvage to create Tech 2 salvage. That's what I would do. And that's how it would go. So the idea is literally, the idea for a game is, like, you might have your overall narrative arc for the game, or for the missions. But the idea is basically you're working on building salvage to build up your characters and to build up your progression. And that is basically the main things for, like, moving around and combat for Salvaging. And everything can be boiled down to, like, just navigating your map, seeing what you encounter. There are a number of role tables you have that you can see to encounter. Let me just go through some what we've done. So, like, we can go to Salvaging, Salvage Conditions, Salvaging Area. We get all of these salvage abilities and what we can do. So, like, whether or not we can, like, patch up our mechs. Or say we have an engineer. That engineer is, so, like, say for example we have our engineer who has mass field maintenance. Mass field maintenance is an excellent tool to repair mechs. So say for example she wants to use mass field maintenance, spend 2, that gives her 4 points. Oh, no, that gives her 8 points of SP to distribute to all of our mechs to heal them. Or say we can just use, like, we can restore structure points and spend scrap to do that. But we have to be careful with, like, how long we have it. So, like, a short action might take just a few minutes. Long actions might take, like, an hour. Your stats, you ace. And that's basically how it goes. Certain things that, like, crafting can only use a bay and only take a downtime action. A downtime action is always a week. That's something that we would do outside of session or during downtime. And we can just go through. So this is basically just all DM stuff. It has a lot of, like, handy DM options of, like, how to handle threats and how to navigate some stuff. And how to, like, deal with region names. And then we go to, like, what the denizens are, what the NPCs can do. This is an example of a role table, what we can do for region maps. It's like, literally, regions are certain parts of your globe. And it all gets broken down. There are some giant enemies, stat lines. The idea for it is case, like, you might have a human who is not in a mech. If a human is in a mech, they use the same mechs that the players can use with certain patterns. So, for example, you could have someone who is piloting a leaky scrapper, and that would be someone using the leaky scrapper stat line. Or you could be fighting an enemy that is using the Mazoa or Mazona, and that means you've got an enemy who is in a Mazona which can flamethrower people to death and do a ton of damage and burn to your mechs, but also can self-destruct. It feels like that Mazona is basically just an NPC in mech. It's kind of like a hover boy that's extra dangerous because it can self-destruct and do a ton of damage. But again, you have the advantage of they can't push mechs, so they can't reroll. You don't have to worry about that. But again, if you're running into them, it means you're running into mechs that have that. So basically, the whole group, if the whole group was in a bad situation and they ran into a tier 2 mech, that would be a big brawly fight against a tier 2 mech that is a lot more stronger than the mechs that the players have. But if you manage to take it down, hey, you've got a tier 2 mech. You can either resalvage and rebuild that mech from scratch, or you can just tear it apart and build something else using all that tier 2 salvage. Like literally, if I wanted to, I could throw everyone at an ice worm for a mission. But yeah, I really like the idea that basically the narrative stuff, like with regions, opens up a lot of play for like what the players could be up against. So say like you have players who are like traversing a frozen tundra, or basically, hey, maybe instead of a giant like Union crawler that's going across the ground, you're in a giant boat. And you can have like Subnautica Salvage Union, where you have to manage your oxygen as well when you're underneath water. And stuff like that. So like maybe like Salvage Union in the deep sea, where you have to like manage your oxygen for like your pilots and for your mech, while also salvaging. So like that's one idea I have. I have an idea for like a subnautical game, so like a game where like your Union crawler is just a giant sea-bearing ship. So like say the world has suffered global warming, so you're just going to like submersed cities, and you're going against like Leviathans. That's like one idea for a campaign that could work. Then you've got your usual like frozen tundras or nuclear wastelands. You could even go so far as to set something in space. Like I could see there being like a third-party book for Salvage Union that basically adds new equipment like subnautical equipment or space-bearing equipment. So you could just be like a leaky pattern scrapper in space collecting space debris. Like, hey, salvaging parts of space and like collecting like broken satellites is something that you could do. While dealing with space pirates and stuff and then trading to other satellite stations. So again, like the idea I have is like for a subnautical one. So I do have an idea for like a seafaring Union crawler or something like Waterworld, where like some of the things for like upkeep is like how to deal with waves and traversing the sea, and also like how deep into the areas you're going. So like maybe the one thing that you could do is pressure. So like you could be in a situation where like, hey, you have like a special eject system. So rather than an escape hatch, you have a pressure chamber release. That literally like you are inside a pressure chamber. That pressure chamber gets released on the mech rather than you just being ejected from it. That could be something that would be handy for like a deep sea stuff. So like say you're really deep in the ocean and something grabs you. Or something grabs your mech. Or like you're against a giant kraken. If you were to die, or if your mech was to be destroyed, you would probably just get crushed from the pressure. I think like pressurized container for your mech is a really cool idea for a module. So I could see myself making like a third party seafaring book for it. Now there are already books for Salvage Union. There are narrative books. There is one that is set in a frozen wasteland. There is one that is very monster focused that I want to read through. But it's a very cool and very versatile. I really like the moment I found out about Salvage Union, I was kind of hooked and just want to run it really badly. It kind of put other projects I have on hold. Yes, this is Salvage Union. It is from Leyline Press. It was in Kickstarter. It's no longer in Kickstarter. It is a lot of fun. There is a module for it for Foundry VTT, which is what I will be using. I just need to create a bunch of tokens and assets for it. But there is also Roll20 support. And here is like an example of a practice campaign that I might run through with some newer players. It basically just goes through stuff. And then you have your keyword traits, like for certain parts, and you have your index. But yeah, that's literally the entire book. We've gone through the entire book for Salvage Union and covered basically combat and stuff and downtime in about 2 hours. Yay. So yes, that is Salvage Union. It's from Leyline Press. They have their books on their store. So I will link. So they have physical copies and PDF versions of their book in their store. I am looking for the Roll20 version of their books on Roll20, but Roll20 is a terrible, terrible place that I will never go to. Although I should, if I want to continue my Let's Learn series. But again, there is a Roll20 version. I believe it may only be used there for Kickstarters. But it might not. Actually, let me go look. Yes, it is only there for Kickstarters at the moment, it seems. But there is a Roll20 version of Salvage Union that has all the tokens and stuff. That is really handy. I find that map picking for this game is going to be a lot of fun and very easy. And very interesting. I see DLC for this game being very interesting. I have a lot of high hopes for this game that it can continue. I've joined the Discord and I'm basically going to hang out in the Discord for a bit. I'm also going to run this with my usual crew, as well as open this up to people who might be interested. So this is definitely one of the mech games I'm going to be playing in future. Again, it's now probably going to be mech game alternating with Lancer. So I'll probably be alternating between Lancer and Salvage Union as like my main mech games. Or I'll maybe like figure something out. Again, at the moment, I'm mainly working through Cyberpunk Red with a group of 6. I'm working through my Lancer, which is my main Lancer Mercenaries campaign is gone on a bit of a hiatus now, as I will be running in January 2 of the book campaigns for Lancer. I'll be running Siren Song and Dustgrave for newer players. Basically just help them learn the game and progress through it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That's basically going to be my January. It's going to be continuing Cyberpunk Red and continuing Lancer. So Salvage Union is probably going to be my late January, February session. I am also working on a Nier Automata TTRPG that at the moment is making steady progress. I am using Lumen, so it's all D6s for the system. I'm just got a few hurdles I need to get through. But I am really happy with how that is going. And I would show you what I've got planned, and basically the table I've set up for it. But I want to do a bit more private play testing with my test subjects. And also make the document a lot more presentable, because my document for my Nier Automata TTRPG notes is a mess. So I want to clean it up. I want to make it more presentable. That's basically my goal for the Nier Automata TTRPG. I'm really excited with it. I'm working on it. Watch me complete it, and then immediately a official Nier Automata TTRPG will come out, and then I'll be very, very sad. But yeah, I kind of need to put stuff in the back burner, because that's basically my goal with stuff. I do want to continue my Let's Learn series. I have held my Let's Learn series off for a long time because I haven't really been focusing on new TTRPGs on my YouTube channel, which is basically just in Cinder, which is now filled up with my Lancer and Cyberpunk games. If you manage to go all the way down, there is Let's Learn for Apocalypse Frame, Nova, Lancer. I haven't done one for Cyberpunk Red, although I should. My idea now is I'm wanting to crack out content for specifically for TTRPGs. That's basically my goal now. Is basically I'm going to use my plan is to use Salvaging as my template base. I'm using stuff I've gathered from this Let's Learn, and I'm going to apply it into possibly a video using the combat recordings footage that I get and some editing to kind of show how things go. And basically, I want to do a character creation video for you, Salvage Union, and a mech creation video for Salvage Union, and then basically a combat video for Salvage Union. But I kind of need to come across my own style with it, and then there's the case of I'm going to get back onto streaming. That's all stuff for the new year. So basically, my plan is cranking out content now. So that's basically the goal. So I am probably not going to be streaming until after the new year now, because I'm in a situation where I have not felt comfortable streaming my TTRPG sessions, because I know I have people who I play with who aren't comfortable being streamed, and that's not fair on them. And it's not fair on me really excluding them because I want to stream them. Again, all of my sessions at the moment have been recorded. There may be some exemptions to that in the future. Although I do kind of want to at least keep content churning. Like well, technically it's my secondary YouTube channel, which is in Cinder. It does get regular videos. It gets weekly videos, almost 2 videos a week because of my Cyberpunk and Lancer sessions. My main YouTube channel is basically slowly dying because Victory Bells is not in a good place right now, in my opinion. And I'm kind of just truckling along with it until they get a publisher. And then if they get a publisher and I'm still happy with Victory Bells, I'll continue with that. If not, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with HQ Hard Mode, which is my second YouTube channel. I can't really merge them because my fan bases for them two YouTube channels are completely different. So I don't see a point with it. So it may be a case of HQ Hard Mode gets abandoned unless there's more Victory Bells content. But my main focus is on the Incinta channel, which is basically just, at the moment, it's just been there for me to archive my TTRPG sessions since I've not been streaming them at the moment. But I do want to get on the idea of basically streaming my sessions again. So I do want to get maybe a Salvage Union one-shot out. My Lancer one-shots for January, I might stream, if that's what the new players are comfortable with, and get them out. I want to start churning out content again for Twitch, because I feel like I've been stagnating. There's also stuff along the lines of I have set an official date for my re-debut. So I'm going through the motions of my new model, which, to be honest, my honk model I'm very happy with. My honk model, now that I've actually made some custom changes, so again you'll notice that I have goat eyes and horns. That's not an original thing with this model. This model used to just have blue eyes and no horns, and the chin plate, but I've made changes. And I'm still making changes to this model because I paid a lot of money for this model and I want to get all of it. And it's just a very handy, like, PNG tuber model that I'm just happy with and cozy. And it's kind of been my fallback model because I've kind of neglected Live 2D rigging because it's pain and suffering. But yeah, outside of that, I've got my 3D model. I have my voxel model. I have a chibi model for Live 2D that is going to be done and rigged by Cream. Then I've got my low poly model that from the great EG that is on the waitlist. Then I do want just a V-Void model that I might work on and learn Blender for. But my main goal at the moment is TTRPG streams and content for my YouTube channel. So my next thing you might see from me is a YouTube video based on like my findings from this Let's Learn. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the stream. Like, I can ramble a bit longer to pad time. I'm pretty much just like done with stuff for now. Sorry, let me just. Oop. So if there's anything that anyone has any questions with thingy with Salvaging, they can feel free to ask now. I feel like I've covered most of the stuff, and then I know I have a few people who want to play Salvaging, so I might just like cover character creation for them separately as well. So like Kel, if you're still here and you want to create your character, we can do that. Again, Ace, you have your character already, and I might like broadcast it on Twitch or Twitter or X. Yeah. That's basically what I might work on. Again, yeah, the honestly, yeah, the system is like super easy and super simple. Again, because you're not like bouncing around, like you have abilities, but you're not bouncing around like plus skills like you are with Lancer. So there's not much juggling about, so it is just very simple and smooth. Again, it's cozy. It's cozy Lancer. It's that simple. It's just extremely cozy Lancer. That's just what I'm gonna call it. It's cozy apart from the part where you get chased by waste bears. Or your mech blows up in your face because you rolled bad. And then you re-rolled bad. Again, I will be just working on stuff for this. Although again, my attention is like I should still be working on Lancer. I should still be working on Cyberpunk. I can't neglect things because I want to work on the new shiny thing I've got. I do want to do Let's Learn, which Let's Learn means I need to find new TTRPGs to grab. Like I could do a Let's Learn Armor Star Advent, but it's a powered by the Apocalypse game. And I have unfortunate luck with my brain cells with powered by Apocalypse games. So I have that. I also have the Alien TTRPG, which I spent a lot of money on and still have not like touched, because now there are certain parts of that game that kind of mechanically rub me the wrong way and feel would be overly complex to learn and structure. And there are also a ton of videos on this. I feel like there's a lot of reviews on Salvaging at the moment, but there aren't really any guides because of how easy it is. So yes, I'm going to do hopefully just work on YouTube videos for a YouTube video for Salvaging. And that's that. So yes, that is that for today. I have nothing else for you all. I have no idea when the next stream is going to be. It may be like the 7th of January, we shall see. Again, keep in touch with the YouTube channel. My next YouTube video will be this Friday with Cyberpunk Red. I will also be uploading this Let's Learn directly to YouTube. That's basically just an archive. So look forward to that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to look for someone to raid. Yeah, I hated Lee. There we go. Do I actually have anyone who does TTRPG stuff to raid? Skullzilla is doing an art stream. And he's Mech. He's a little Mech Godzilla guy. Yeah, you're personally waiting on fantasy settings. But I'm a mecha guy. I'm a little Android VTuber. Cheap. Fantasy very far away. Especially now that I am no longer touching D&D at all now. Literally, D&D has literally just broken my faith in humanity. But yeah, I'm going to end that now before I rant. I might have just opened my Discord if you want to talk further, Ace. But yes, that is it for this. We are going to raid Skullzilla. Once I remember how to raid people. I'll just do it through thingy. So Godzilla, he is doing an art stream right now. He's doing his Christmas art. You're going to send stuff right down there. There is no real raid message. There's just go in, chill. Yeah, there we are. We're gonna raid him, and then that will be it for me for today. And that is everything. So thank you all for watching.